we won't do a Liberty preview, unfortunately, on this episode. What we will do is we will go to Cole because it's the Red River Shootout and it is time. And man, Cole, you were saying this off air, so I don't want to steal your thunder, but they always say throw everything out in rivalries. I don't usually even agree with that. Like Florida State, Miami this week, I wasn't like, oh, throw it all out. No, it was like Miami's really freaking good. And Florida State might be kind of fool's gold. We'll see. But this is one you really do throw it all out. So, yeah. Cole, without further ado.
For starters, TJ, I am very thankful that you said properly the name of this rivalry, which is the Red River Shootout. And it's nothing else, and it never will be anything else. And if you decide to go ahead and tell me otherwise, you are simply wrong and do not know balls. So thank you for calling it what it is, the Red River Shootout. This game every single year is, in my opinion, the purity of what college football stands for. The chaos, the unpotential unknowns, the storylines galore. And there are storylines going into this game. Texas is sitting at 3-2. I mean, who would have thought that going into the year, Texas with 2 losses already facing elimination, knowing that we're talking about Oklahoma holding out for Brent Venables another year when he underwhelmed last season. You would have thought Texas is the 5-0 team coming into this, and Oklahoma sitting with 2 losses to Michigan and Auburn. Like, that is what I think most people would have envisioned when we started off the season, but that's why we play the games. It's something interesting about having a horrendous performance on the road out in Gainesville that allows you to think maybe Texas is falling apart. And they come out of the woodwork and show you otherwise. You know, I will say that as many people want to point out, Arch has not been up to par. And Arch has not been up to par to the people who literally said he was going to be an average to maybe slightly above average quarterback. He's underwhelmed. Texas as a whole is underwhelmed. This is not an Arch problem right now. They can't run the football to save their life. They're not able to have the elite separators at the wide receiver position like they had last year. The defense has had good moments, but it hasn't had elite moments this year. They allowed far too many explosive plays against Florida last week. And they have a horrendous offensive line that can't protect its quarterback from making the right decisions. So a lot of things are going wrong for Texas to where you say to yourself, well, this is going to be an easy win for Oklahoma. Yet you look at the betting line and it says, oh, Texas is the favorite. And it just shows you that once again, it's what makes college football great. A couple things that I'm looking for in this matchup. Everyone wants to talk about John Mateer. Is he going to play? Did Chipotle, the flying burrito online spectacle, actually have inside information saying he's going to show on up? You heard Brent Venables earlier this week. He's not doing good on good drills. So if he's not doing that, we're not expecting him to play. I do not entirely believe that. I do believe he is not going to play the entire game if he is out there. So that is going to be a major staple, I think, in this matchup is how do you prepare for any packages that feature John Mateer versus what you got with Michael Hawkins? Hawkins in this game is going to have to play a little bit more clean football. He's going to have to be more decisive with his decision-making. And I think that he's going to have to rely a lot on explosive plays. The thing that worked last week for Florida was their ability to trust the explosives downfield after setting up the run. Remember, Florida did not run the football at all against LSU and Miami. I think you had Jaden Baugh average 12 carries in both those matchups. He had almost 30 in this game, and that pressured Texas into playing the box and then taking the tops off of the defenses. You have that with guys like Isaiah Satania. You have guys like that with Deion Burks. You have guys with Giovanni Gibson coming involved, Jared Kanik, the tight end. So there's a lot of things to where you got to rely on the 18 to 20-yard plays downfield that are going to be essential for Oklahoma to win. On the flip side, Texas, I think, has got to run the football. And that's easier said than done because Texas last week, they had 2 running backs average less than a yard of play. I mean, what was it? 9 carries, 11 yards, and Arch had 15 carries. So that's not sustainable, but you got to be able, I think, to trust your ground game to kind of do the exact same thing that Oklahoma wants to do. I mean, that Florida did to you last week. Set up the run that allows you to create the pass. Explosives in this game, I think, are going to be the big selling point on either side. Arch waiting for Ryan Wingo to get on open for a 30-yard plus completion. Parker Livingston finding a way to get past a slew of defenders and be able to get a 40-yard score. And remember, we look back at that Oklahoma game against Auburn. Auburn had opportunities to be explosive downfield. Cam Coleman was winning off the line of scrimmage against the secondary of the Sooners. It's just he didn't have a quarterback that was able to connect with him. And there were times last week where, again, you saw the passing attack for Texas step on up, but ultimately on several of the deep passes, they were overshots. So Texas is going to have to, I think, connect on those big plays of Ryan Wingo, Parker Livingston, DeAndre Moore, Emmett Mosley, Jack Andrews at tight end. You're going to have to win that vicinity. I think for Oklahoma as well, defensively, they have, in my opinion, the best line in college football. They may have the best defense in college football. And they've been tested about forcing teams to have to throw against you. So, can you win when it comes to the secondary being able to break up on passes Arch is connecting with, and then say to yourself, let's go ahead and let them run the football. Let's see if they can actually get the ball moving on the ground and beat us that way, because nobody else has. Auburn hasn't been able to do it. Michigan hasn't been able to do it. Kent State, we held them to under a yard of play. I mean, we were elite in that category. So let's see if we can go ahead and get them to run and we take away the passing element altogether. And the only way they're going to find success is by the time of possession matchup. The thing that ultimately is going to be really important, I think, for Oklahoma's offense is you want to rely on the explosive plays. You haven't been able to run the football at all this year. You're averaging less than 3.3 yards a play against power 4 teams with your running back. And so what do you get from Torrey Blaylock? What do you get from Jaden not fully healthy in this matchup? Is that something that you can rely on that says to yourself, hey, we now can trust that our running backs are setting up plays for us to get Texas frustrated, and they'll avoid the pass, and then they'll put themselves in a position to where all we need is one big play downfield, 30-plus yards. He's in the end zone. Deion Burks, Giovanni Gibson, one of our tight ends, and we're off to the races. This is one of those games, though. I will tell you what, if you are a degenerate gambler, I wish you nothing but all the best in your future endeavors. I don't touch this game, because I can tell you what, it is always chaos out in Cotton Bowl. And it's why this is going to be another game that we talk about meeting the expectations, but for all the wrong reasons. And you can't really predict it, because I can tell you what, I've tried before. And everything that I said went out the door. And everything that I thought was not going to happen, fully on display.
I can't believe I'm going to ask a follow-up question after you just said that. But taking away everything you know about this rivalry and this game, which, as you've just admitted, is nothing. Isn't it just hard to see Texas outside of it just kind of going bonkers like this rivalry does? Isn't it kind of nuts to think that, not that Florida's defense isn't good, but that Arch and Texas' offense could figure it out this week against an even better defense? Like, is that hard for you to envision?
No, because I remember a time period where Spencer Rattler, who at one point was viewed as the number 1 quarterback prospect, was benched in favor of Caleb Williams, and the offense came to life in the second half, and they won the football game. I mean, I remember seeing that in this matchup less than 5 years ago. So that's what you know about Red River, is that expect the unexpected. Expect there to be a moment where it all just comes together and clicks. And the crazy part is, it's not always the better team wins in this game. It's just who has the better game plan, makes the necessary adjustments, and is able to kind of avoid the chaos theory collapsing on you at the Cotton Bowl. I mean, like, that's really what this is. Like, I could see Texas have an incredible offensive performance. You go and see Arch Manning live up to all the expectations that were thrust upon him that he didn't ask for, and he ends up putting on the golden cowboy hat, and then they find a way to struggle against Kentucky in 2 weeks. I mean, that's what we could see happen, because of it's Red River. And also, there are pieces of this offense that you do feel confident in. Wide receivers, they're not as explosive as you have with Silas Bolden and Isaiah Bond and Matthew Golden from a season ago, but Ryan Wingo still is a good wideout. Parker Livingston still is able to have his big-time moments, and he is going to play in this game, at least even in a limited capacity, but he is expected to go. You have DeAndre Moore. You have Emmett Mosley, who was one of the most revered ACC freshman wide receivers last year. Takes one play. I mean, you look back at that Auburn game, and that is where I'm studying the film if I am Steve Sarkisian this week. There were multiple opportunities to where Cam Coleman, Malcolm Simmons, Horatio Fields when he was, not Horatio Fields, my apologies, Eric Singleton, they were all healthy. They put themselves in a position where if you just had a quarterback that connect, they win that football game. And so this is where it's like, Arch, you may have it. The thing that worries me, though, is that Texas's inability to run the football. Like, Texas in a Steve Sarkisian offense has always been able to run the football. They don't even rank inside the top 70 in rushing yards this year in the SEC, among teams. That's a problem. And your running backs have not been able to find any burst or separation. And you put too much pressure on 16 to have to deliver. That's what scares me in this game.
I'll get right back to our video, but first, I do want to tell you about Sleeper's brand new promotion. It's for October only, so do not wait on this. If you've been waiting to deposit on the Sleeper app, but you're cheap, or you just don't want to spend money, or whatever your excuse is. You just don't believe us about the match. You don't even need to make a deposit now. Use our code CFA and you get a free $20 entry on the Sleeper app. You heard me right. Free $20 entry on the Sleeper app if you use our code CFA. The link is in the description. If you do deposit, there's still a 100% match up to $100, but you do not want to miss this promo. It's just for October. Go get it done now. Come play the More or Less game with us on the Power 2 live every Wednesday at noon, and go get your free $20 entry. Thanks to Sleeper for their support. Now back to the video.
There's a lot of elements of this that I hate for Texas. I don't love Texas's offensive line up against the defensive line of Oklahoma. I think that is going to be a huge mismatch. I think Arch is going to be running for his life. I hope they find some answers in the running game. I just don't expect it. And on the flip side, no John Mateer does make this very, very questionable for Oklahoma. Michael Hawkins, I feel like, is going to be turnover prone in a game like this, and that there is just a tremendous amount of pressure. And even if it is something where Oklahoma breaks glass in case of emergency with Mateer, it might be all too late. What I will point to is the factor that you just said, Cole, of it's Red River. Anything can happen. What you think won't happen probably will happen. How timely is it that Eric Gay of The Athletic, through the New York Times, put out a piece saying that is Arch Manning college football's first flop? And also went on to ask, the quarterback has gone from preseason Heisman Trophy favorite and projected #1 NFL draft pick to a man synonymous with failure. Tell me you don't watch the games without telling me you don't watch the games. Give me Texas 22-21. So that's betting the over, and that's betting Oklahoma to cover the spread. This game is not going to make any sense. I like the playmakers for Oklahoma on offense far more than I do Texas's. But at the same time, I hate the quarterback situation for Oklahoma if it is Hawkins for the majority of this game. I think this is just going to be kind of madness, and I feel like it'll come down to the wire. And yeah, I think you see Arch with a golden cowboy hat on.
I'll go the other way. I'll go under, and I will agree with you on Oklahoma to cover, but I will take the Sooners here. I understand that is the trendy pick due to the way that Texas looked last week, but I'll say that their defense gets it done. It's ugly, 17-13 final score.
See, I completely disagree with both of you for different reasons. Number one, this is a game to where I think that you see both offenses explode. Even if it isn't John Mateer playing, if it's Michael Hawkins, you may see Torrey Blaylock and Jaden Ott have the best rushing performance of the year at this point. And Arch just delivers. I'm hammering the over in this game because it just feels like it's topsy-turvy. And I also think that this is a game that Texas has to have. But it's also one that we got to remember Brent Venables kind of has to have, because there are some people out there, right or not, still saying, well, it's Auburn. Look at what they've done. Well, it's Michigan. They can't throw the football. Who have you really beaten? Okay, well, we beat a team that still is one of the best defenses in college football in what is considered neutral site field, when there's nothing neutral about it. Half the time you're at a home environment, half the time you're playing on the road. And that's what makes the Cotton Bowl such a unique experience. I'm going big. I think that this is going to be something along the lines of 37-34. I think my final score is 34-31, but I am racking with TJ. I think Oklahoma does win this football game. And I think Oklahoma puts itself in a position to look at the second half of the season and know that they got 2 wins with a limited or non-existent John Mateer, and that was enough to feel pretty confident on their success rate toward a college